All right. The subject for this week, which I'd like to discuss, is Yaakov versus Asov and Emes versus Sheker. Okay? Because we're going to speak about cops and robbers, so to speak, the good against the bad, but I'm not going to speak about trumping one over the other. I'm discussing the idea of what does it really mean to be good or to be bad, and how do we decide? Okay, and this is an important subject that needs greater introspection than what we're going to deal with today. I would like to start off with a idea that Rav Dessler says, and the question that I've had on it for probably about 25 years, and I'm going to offer some kind of an answer to the question in Mirza Hashem. All right, the question is, it starts off with the following question. Why is Yaakov called Yaakov? Well, because Vayakveni Zepamayim. Yaakov is called Yaakov because he was holding on to the heel of Aesop, and he was this fellow who was always, as they say in America, he Jewed. He was busy wheeling and dealing with everybody else on getting what he wants. He maneuvered to get the Bechorah, he maneuvered to get the brachas, he maneuvered, try to become the Bechor, and this is our grandfather Yaakov, who is Titen Emes Yaakov. If you want to know what the Midah of Yaakov is known throughout history as the man of truth. When we speak about Yaakov, we speak about honesty, integrity. In the next week's Parsha, we discuss how he worked for Lavan, didn't cheat him, stayed up extra nights. And yet, when we have him come into reality, the introduction about him, we discuss his darker side. That's what it seems to be, that which we discuss, to the point that his name actually reflects some kind of shenanigans going on, and maybe it makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. You know, you're speaking about my grandfather. Take it personally. So we're going to try to explore why would his name be called Yaakov if he's the Ish Emes, and why, if he's the Ish Emes, did he do all these things which seem to be Sheker? Now, I would like to start off with a what? So, want to say something? All right. I'd like to start with a comment that I heard from a daughter of mine many years ago, which is, I find it very on the mark. 99% Emes is 100% Sheker. Emes has to be absolute. Aryeh, I don't like that face. What are you thinking about? You come from Brooklyn or something? You have to turn on your microphone. You have to turn on your microphone.
Can I have an example of 1%? Really, seriously, is it possible to give an example of 1% Sheker and 99% Emes?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Person asks you, the guy came late. So the person asked you, did he come on time? So you said he was there.
You didn't answer the question. All right.
But the person walks away with what? A false impression, right? But there's sometimes, and there, a guy, you just upgraded. The guy got a 99, you moved into 100. What's that for 1%? 1%. There are all different kinds of cases that you just tweak it, as they say in nowadays terms. Nowadays they say you're tweaking it, right? You know what that means in English? How do you say that when you were growing up? How did they say that when you were growing up? You were tweaking it. What?
So many years ago that I grew up that I don't remember anymore.
You're still growing. He's still growing. But they used to say you fudge the numbers, right?
All right.
Right? What does that mean that you fudge the numbers? It's sort of like Berach, what it's supposed to be, right? That's what it means. If I say it's day or it's night outside, so in this group I can't even discuss that because we'll have two opinions on that subject if it's day or night. But there is a lot of times that you just change it a little bit, just a little bit, and that little bit really spoils it. And the truth of the matter is that sheker ein lo raglayim and emes has raglayim. It has to be well planted on the ground. We know that famous vart that all the letters of sheker have 1 point and all the letters of emes have 2 feet on the ground. It has to be well grounded in order for something to be emes. Yaakov was called Yaakov. Asov was called Aesop. Why was Aesop called Aesop? Because he was a hairy guy. That's what it says in the pasuk. That's a pretty funny name to call a guy who's hairy. Okay. So the Mefarshim tell us that Aesop was born complete, grown, mature. He was a hairy guy, means he had hair on his chest, so to speak. He didn't need to be developed. And not only didn't he need to be developed, Asov was a man of action. Asov did. Yaakov was an ishtam. He wasn't the person that did. It was a person that followed instructions. Just 1 second. Anyways, we'll just get back to the subject over here. We say in the morning when we daven after Kriya Shema, we say Emes v'Yatziv. And at night, we say Emes v'Emuna. What's the difference? Why in the morning do we say Emes v'Yatziv and at night we say Emes v'Emuna? So the Mefarshim tell us in the daytime, where things are clear to us, we understand what's going on. So we say Emes v'Yatziv. I see what's going on. I could stand up. I could do. Whereas at night, when it's dark, we don't really know what's going on. We have to have emunah that things are going to be good because the present is pretty lousy. The nighttime is dark. It's fearful. There are all kinds of bandits out, whatever, wild animals. So we have to have emunah that things are going to turn out okay. There's a bumper sticker, a magnet that was on a friend of mine's mother-in-law's refrigerator, which I mentioned this many times. It says the reason why I'm smiling is because I have no idea what's going on. Right? Ignorance is bliss. But is that really true? Is ignorance bliss? The answer to that question is it depends what you're trying to do. Okay? This is an important idea. If it's going to inhibit you to know what's going on, and you're not able to do your job, you're better off not knowing what's going on. If it will enhance your job, be able to do what you're supposed to do better, so then it's good to know what's going on. Ignorance sometimes is helpful, and sometimes not. I'm going to share with you a halakha, which many of you are going to be very troubled by, but it's worthwhile to know. In Shulchan Aruch, it says that if somebody dies, you shouldn't tell people that the person died. You're not supposed to say. Not only that, it says in Shulchan Aruch that if a parent dies, the daughters should not be told. The sons, they can be told because since they have to say Kaddish, it's worthwhile telling them. Just going to read it inside because I know when I say things that people don't believe, I have to support it. So I'm going to read this halacha inside. Misha meis lo meis. Somebody that had a close relative that died, and he's unaware of it, there's no obligation to tell him. And even about the father or mother, and on this, Chazal tell us, A person who informs somebody else is a ksil. The person who's supposed to be being singing Shiva, you didn't tell him about the fact that somebody died. You could tell him to come to a chasana, the kol simcha. Why? Since he's unaware, he's not obligated to sit Shiva, so you're not being machshel him at all. Mihu imshor alav. If the person asks, "How's my father?" He asked that question. Don't lie and say that he's alive. Shenemar midvar sheker tirchok. And if it wouldn't have been for the pasuk midvar sheker tirchok, we would say that you should lie and tell the person that he's alive, even though he's not. I guess this is called the halakha that needs a little bit of explanation. Many people find this halakha unsettling. I'm just going to continue and read the Ramon Shulchan Aruch. Mikol makam banim zcharim, sons, no hagulo idiyam, no hagulo idiyam. I don't know how you translate that into English exactly. Why? Kidei sheyemer kaddish. Aval bebanos ein mina klal idiyam. I think that's I could probably close up shop over here tonight. I think everybody's pretty shocked at what you heard, but that's what it says. The end of Hilchos Avedos. Now, Asov was a fellow who was a man of action. Aesop did. Oh. If you look throughout the parsha, we find that Aesop was always busy doing things, and doing things is a very important thing to do. The person is doing things, he's an accomplished person. He was a man of action. He took hints and he did what he was allegedly supposed to do. I'm just going to pick on one thing, which is fascinating. You have to get married. So what did he do? He got himself some wives, a couple of them. And then he found out his father wasn't happy about it. So what did he do? He got himself some more. No problem. It was a man of action. Yaakov, he had to get married. How old was Yaakov? Was he 20, 21? If he would have been in Lakewood, he would have been in the freezer. He's a fellow that would have been for the shidduch crisis. He wasn't a youngster. And who's busy making his shidduchim? He's waiting for his mother to tell him. Grow up! But he had a Masorah. How old was Yitzchak when he got married? Did
40.
Yitzchak, what? Did Yitzchak pick his own wife, or he had Eliezer pick his wife because on Avram's behest? Interesting. Okay, in our community, it's very common that the parents are heavily involved in the children's shidduchim. This is a Masorah that we have. Yaakov was not a man of action. Yaakov would not have taken the brachas. His mother told him to do it, so he did it. Ishtam Yoshev Aholim. Not only that, Yaakov is the Ish Emes. His mother tells him to lie, so he lies. I just want to ask a question, by the way. This is a side issue, which is very important. If somebody's father or mother tells them to lie, should they lie? No. What did your grandfather do? Yaakov Avinu, he was your grandfather.
Lied.
His mother told him to lie, and he lied.
He also married 2 sisters. He did a lot of things.
So that's called that when it rains, it pours. So we got a lot of questions on it, right?
Rivka was a Neviah. It was a Neviah.
What?
Rivka was a prophetess, so we have to listen. It was a prophecy, wasn't it? A prophetess speaking to him.
Correct. There was a tzivoy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to lie. So he had to lie. That's what you do. You have to. What do you say? Alan, what did you say?
You once told me if it was for the greater good, then you do it.
Well, that's a very dangerous
statement.
thing. What?
Statements, very dangerous statements.
Yeah, but I'm not going to, when I say I'm not going to argue with you, because what you said is not wrong, but what's called the greater good? You know, the greater good is, so I should be richer, so I'm going to lie on my taxes. That's fine.
Being a prophetess, obviously she knew what was going on, so therefore.
Okay, so that's correct. That's correct. But but aside from the issue of the greater good, there's a special tzivui that this case, just like your B'chal Shabbos for Pekuach Nefesh, the Navi tells you to do something, that a person changes and does against what the regular, we'll call it the regular Halakha is. There were times, not so long ago, that people were not aware of health issues that we're aware of today. Diabetes, cholesterol, and the like. We never heard of them. Now, Aryeh, when you were a kid, did you ever hear of these diseases? Yeah? They had
diabetes, sure. Diabetes.
Yeah, but cholesterol?
Sure. Oh, no, I thought it was some kind of toothpaste.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm saying there are many diseases, and people used to think that if you know, look at that guy, that guy's a fat guy, he's healthy. That skinny guy, ask any Bubby, she'll explain this to you. The skinny guy is unhealthy, the fat guy is healthy. This is, any Bubba will explain this to you. We know that the skinny guy is healthy, and the fat guy, he's called Bisikun Gavoa, right? Is that what we're going to call him? He's called Bisikun Gavoa. So now, there are things that appear one way, and in reality, there's something totally different. That mashal is not my mashal. That's a mashal from Shrinshim Pincus. It's a fascinating mashal. People were brought up, and not only that, in ancient times in Rome, being fat was a status symbol. It was beautiful. And nowadays, a person has to be anorexic to be on the page, so to speak, right? That's fine. Each generation has their own Yetzer Haras. But the bottom line is, if a person eats a meager amount, he actually will get more benefit out of it. Somebody read to me an article not long ago, fascinating article. People who eat a lot, so the body gets flooded with food, and much of the food passes through the body without being absorbed. If a person would eat less, he would actually get more nourishment from the food that he ate than when he eats a lot, because the body's so busy processing all the food to get it through, it doesn't get everything out of it that's there. So a person who eats a meager amount can actually be more healthy than the person who eats a lot, a little bit. But anyways, we think that the fat guy is healthy, the skinny guy is unhealthy. Now we know that that's not true. It's probably the other way around. That's one example. The other example, which I'd like to use, as a fascinating thing. A person has a barn and he has animals, and he has chicken, geese, ducks, horses. You know, the horse rarely gets a cube of sugar. We don't spoil the horse. The goose, they get fed good geschmack things, and we fatten them up. Which one does the owner love more? The goose.
A fat goose.
A fat goose. Okay. Why do you say that? Why do you think he loves the fat goose more?
Because he knows that the fatter it is, the more money he'll make, or the better meal he'll have.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. I accept that as an answer. But I think that it's that answer, even though that answer is 100% correct, it's 100% wrong also. This is 100 and 100. He doesn't like either of them. this one will serve him better fat, and this one will serve him better skinny. The reason why he wants his horse lean is because he wants his horse to be able to run. The reason why he wants his goose fat is because he wants to be able to sell him or eat him. In neither case is he concerned about the welfare of the livestock. It's all self-centered. He doesn't love either of them. Okay, you people with me? Now, that I don't think I said anything which we don't all know and recognize. I think it's a davar poshet ma'od. But imagine if you were a barnyard animal, you wouldn't. If somebody tell you he doesn't like either of them, you would say he's a liar. He definitely likes the goose more than he likes the cow, more than he likes the horse. Right? That's what you would say. Because
So why can't you say he likes both of them?
What?
Why can't you say he likes both of them?
So why does he give the goose doubles and the horse he gives him a meager meal? Hello, so
Yeah. So why does he give him a? What? He that he. That's hard. It's a hard answer. It's a hard
okay.
answer.
I try to ask hard questions. That's part of my job. Okay, we're trying to elicit good answers. But I think that the bottom line, we all understand that it's nothing to do. He's not from the save the dolphins people. That's not the point. That's not why he has animals altogether. He has them to serve him, and these serve me properly this way, and these serve properly that way. But if you would be an animal looking at it from their perspective, you would be convinced that he loves the goose and he doesn't love the horse. I think that's obvious. No, Zev, why am I wrong? You have to turn on your microphone. You have to turn on the mic. Your mic's not on, Zev. Your mic is still off. I don't know. Oh, now you can speak. What?
He loves the horse. He loves the horse.
How do you know?
I know because I love horses. And you can, because you will hug a horse, you'll never hug the goose. He just loves the goose because it's going to be fat and he's going to have a lot of schmaltz. But
Okay.
Horse, he loves
Okay.
the horse. Even if
Okay.
it's a workhorse, even if it's a workhorse, he loves the horse. He trusts the horse. It's his life. It's his life. The horse saves his life. The horse does all his work for him. It's a very
Okay.
emotional thing sometimes.
Okay. All right. I want to tell you something. I'm not going to argue with you, but I just want to tell you something. There are some people that I'm going to upgrade. We'll go from the horse to the car. To some people that love their car, and some people that car serves them.
Right. Right.
It's
Absolutely.
they're two different kinds of people. You know, those guys that on Sunday afternoon are polishing their car, they love their car. Those guys who only clean their car Erev Pesach, we know that they don't love their car. They just use it to get around, right? So there are those people who love their horse. That's true, but by and large, the people who have horses, they have them. You know, they have them to serve them. And that's you know. And sometimes a person has a car. You know, I love this car. It really serves me well. But we don't make a funeral for it, right? Well, we send it to the graveyard. Anyways, Yaakov lived with a concept. And this concept is, and I'm going to tell you what Rav Dessler says, and this is where I have had problems for many years, and this year I have a little bit of an explanation on. We say Emes and Sheker is truth and false. Rav Dessler says that that's not the exact proper translation. Emes and Sheker means right and wrong. Now, I'm going to give all of you people a lesson in Shalom Bias. Okay? This is a lesson that you should learn from your father, called HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A fascinating thing. The Gemara tells us a person is allowed to change, be mishan of Bnei Shalom. It's going to cause fights. A person is allowed to say a sheker. How do we know this? We know this because Vatitzchak Sarah Bekir Bolemar, that Sarah said, how could it be Abraham is going to have a kid? And she said, Adoni Zoken, my husband is old. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told over this complaint to Avram, he said, Vani Zakanti, and I'm old. We put the being old, we moved it from being on Avram to be on to Sarah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Mishan in Bnei Shalom. He changed, he lied, so to speak, in Bnei Shalom. So I heard once the following analysis. This is a fascinating analysis. I'm willing to say that Avram and Sarah had better Shalom Bias than I do. I'm willing to say that. How do I know? Avram was the Ish Chesed, Mistama. If he was Ish Chesed, and we know though that charity starts at home, the first person that he would be nice to and good to is his wife. So I assume that they had good Shalom Bias. Now, Sachakol, what happened? Sarah said that you expect my husband to have a child, he's old. Being old in Yiddishkeit is not a chesaron. And not only that, it was inyani, it was relevant for the subject at hand. You know, he can't be shortstop anymore. You know, he passed that stage. You know, he can't slide home anymore. She's not insulting him. She's just stating the facts. I want to know, what do you think? If you would have been there at the time, and I'm taking bets, do you think when Avram would hear that Sarah said that he's old, that he would have come home and thrown a plate at his wife? What do you think Avram would have done to Sarah?
He would have agreed with her.
He would have agreed with her. So, you know what? I have a question. If he would have agreed with her, and he wouldn't have harbored any negative feelings, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu paskin to lie? Who's the one who lied? HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
He didn't want that Avram should have even an inkling, a possible inkling, the fact that maybe he would think badly about her.
So what does that mean? How much do you have to be careful for your spouse's feelings that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already lied? We'll use that word right now, that ugly word right now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lied because of the rift that would come about, or possibly would come about, if Avram would hear that Sarah said that he's old. With our Kalim, we would not be able to detect, this is my assertion, we would not be able to detect any grievance from Avram to Sarah, and yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu said you should be B'Shalom B'nei Shalom. Okay, so that's my lesson in Shalom Bias for today. But at any rate, I think it's a worthwhile lesson in its own. Let's get back to the subject at hand. Bottom line. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he said that Sarah said, I'm old, did he lie or he didn't lie?
He
HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't lie. Did not.
He did. He did.
Did not.
He did not. Did he say what happened?
He had a plan outside the teva, and he was the only one that knew it.
Okay, you know, when you play God, it's hard to argue with you, Zev. But the bottom line is, it depends what the words lie mean. If lie means to do the right thing or the wrong thing, then he didn't lie. If lying means saying over the facts as we see them here in this world, then he didn't lie. Then he lied. Okay? So if Dessler says that Emes and Sheker means Ratzon Hashem versus not Ratzon Hashem. So if Hashem says to lie, then that's what you're supposed to do. And then you are saying the Emes. So have a kasha. If that's true, all the kids in Cheder in this week's Parsha, when they learn about the story, of Anoichi, Aesop Becharecha, that you shouldn't say, you should minimize the lie that you have to say for whatever reason it may be. If the Navi said, which was Rivka Imenu, she said to Yaakov that you're supposed to lie, he should have done it Behidor. He should have been a great liar. Why was he such a miser on his lie? If the emes is to lie, so he should have said, it's me, Asov. What's this Anoichi Aesop Becharecha bit? There's a question that I had on Rav Dessler for many years. And this year, I have an answer to that question, a partial answer to that question at least. Bottom line, we live here in this world. And to us, it looks like a lie. So even though it's 100% emes, being that we have our feet planted over here, we have to minimize our lies that we're supposed to be lying. Now I'm going to explain what I just said right now. And this is the point that I would really like to develop. There's a parsha in the Torah of Ben Sarah Moira. We have a child who we'll call him the wayward child. Probably today we call him ADHD, HDQ, IPQZ guy, whatever. When he has some kind of a bunch of letters added to his name, and it's not Dr. Professor or something like that. And we're afraid he's going to go off into Never Land, so we kill him. The parsha beforehand discusses a person who has two children, Ahuva and a Snua. The Snua is this child, and a person should not be Maver Nachala from the Snua to the Ahuva if the Snua is older. Why? Why shouldn't he do that?
He's entitled. He's entitled.
Well, I'm entitled to give my money to whoever I want.
Now, when it comes to the Bechorah,
I can give it away in advance.
The Torah tells us the Bechorah gives it.
Okay, so the answer to the question is, this is true. The answer to the question is, the words he just said, the Torah says. What does it mean the Torah says? One of the great Nevi'im didn't get married. The reason why he didn't get married was because he saw in Nevuah that he was going to have a child who was a Rasha. So he said, why should I bring a Rasha into the world? So he didn't get married. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took issue with him. And he said that that's not your job but you're supposed to do your mitzvahs, and you're not supposed to make cheshbonis. Yitzchak Avinu, according to most of the Mefarshim, he understood that Yaakov was the learner and Asov was the working guy, and it was supposed to be some kind of Yisachar and Zvulun. Now, just imagine if a person had a justifiable Zvulun, and he had to give Bechorah. Should he give it to the Yisachar or to the Zvulun? If we have a Torah precedent, the Torah would say, give it to the Yisachar, so we'd give it to the Yisachar. That's what he would do. I think that we all agree to that. Here the situation was, it was worse, because he has a son who's a Ben Sarah Moira. He has a son who's an Aesop. We're not Maver Nachla. Why? Because we do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. We don't figure it out, a man of action, doing it on our own. This is the concept of Yaakov Ishtam. And therefore, he himself, he lied when you're supposed to lie. Whatever the Torah says to do, that's what he does. The subject of the Parsha is about that Yaakov lived the life, the antithesis of his belief, because he did what he was told. This is what we are supposed to do. We're not supposed to do what we think. We're supposed to do what we're told, because we don't know the whole story. We are just like that fat goose in the barn. We think we know the whole story, and we don't know the whole story. He's loved that goose up until the Sheikhet. After the Sheikhet, we find out the truth, that he's not really such a loved fellow. So Asov, the Ishtam, was not a man of action doing what he thought. He did what he was told. He is our ish emes, because the emes is born out from what we are supposed to do. I'm going to end off with the following story about Rav Shach. And I think at this point, the story will be very, very important to us to figure out how to do things. Somebody told me that it was by Rav Shach once, and he asked Rav Shach an Eitzah what to do. And Rav Shach stopped to think about it, and he was mumbling to himself. Rabbi Zalman, my uncle, he would say to do like this. The Briskerov would say to do like that. Reb Chaim Oizer would say to do a third thing. And then he stopped and he thought, and he gave his opinion what to do. Even when we come to our own conclusions, the conclusions which we have to be based on precedents that we have from previous examples. And this is a very important concept. No one's telling us that we have to be robots, and not necessarily every situation that we have existed beforehand. But an idea, a concept of a precedent, we have to have. Yes, we live in a world of Hester Panim. We live be'emunascha balelos. We live in a situation. Yaakov, the Ish Tam, was on the lam. He was always running. He was being chased after. He had a rough life. Is that fair? He lived with Emunah. He didn't have any questions. I'm going to mention this week, when we learn about the trickery of Yaakov, that his name is a name of trickery, that's a badge of honor, because he did exactly the opposite of what he wanted to do, because he was, when I grew up, it was called, he was a good trooper. He did what he was supposed to do. A person who does what he's supposed to do will be zeicha to have, as Yaakov Avinu had, mitosai shleima, of nachas from his children, he'll have parnasa, shefa. We should all be zeicha, and mitzvah Hashem, to make our grandfather Yaakov Avinu proud.